Survivorship bias is one of the most deceptive psychological traps that shapes our thinking without us even realizing it. It makes the world look simpler, success look easier, and failure look like a personal weakness. At its core, survivorship bias happens when we focus only on the people or things that succeeded, the survivors, while completely ignoring the massive number of failures that never get talked about. This creates a distorted picture of reality. Imagine seeing only the top 1% who made it and assuming that their path works for everyone. This happens in business, in relationships, in careers, in fitness, in studies, and even in the way we understand motivation and hard work. One of the most famous real-life examples comes from World War II. Engineers were studying bombers returning from missions, and they noticed bullet holes in certain areas of the planes. Naturally, they decided to reinforce those areas with extra armor. It seemed logical, add protection where the planes were getting hit. But then a mathematician named Abraham Wald came in and completely flipped the thinking. He said, "You're looking at the planes that survived. The bullet holes you see didn't destroy these planes. The planes that were hit in the truly critical areas never came back at all." In other words, the engineers were studying only the survivors and were about to make wrong decisions because they didn't consider the planes that were lost. Wald insisted they reinforce the areas with no bullet holes, the invisible data from the planes that didn't return. That insight saved countless lives, and this may seem like a story from history, but the same mistake happens in our minds every single day. We look at successful entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs and say, if they can do it, anyone can. But we never see the millions of entrepreneurs who worked just as hard, took risks, dreamed big, but still failed due to timing, luck, market changes, or simply being at the wrong place. We follow fitness influencers and their strict routines, thinking anyone can get a perfect body if they just copy the right habits. But we don't see the thousands who tried the same routines and gave up because their genetics or lifestyle didn't allow it. We watch motivational speakers saying, "Wake up at 4 a.m. like successful people do," but we never hear from the thousands who woke up early every day and didn't become millionaires. We see college dropouts who became billionaires, but no one talks about the countless dropouts who ended up struggling for years. On social media, we admire perfect couples who post smiling photos, but we never see the fights, the insecurities, the breakups, and the emotional pain that never gets uploaded. This is survivorship bias at work. It creates illusions that make success seem like a formula. It makes motivation look like a magic trick. It tricks you into thinking that if you simply copy what survivors did, you will automatically get the same results. But that's not how reality works. Survivorship bias also forces us to judge ourselves harshly. We compare ourselves to only the winners, the topper in class, the influencer with millions of followers, the athlete with a perfect body, the friend who became rich early, or the couple who seems happy. But we forget, for every one of them, there might be thousands who struggled, failed, changed paths, or gave up. And those stories are not visible. That silence creates pressure. It can make you feel like you're behind in life when you're actually doing fine. It can make you feel like a failure when the truth is that the path is much harder and more unpredictable than it appears. The real danger of survivorship bias is that it hides the role of luck, timing, environment, privilege, opportunity, and even randomness. It hides the full picture. And when we don't see the invisible failures, we start believing in myths. The myth that success always comes from discipline. The myth that anyone can become famous by never giving up. The myth that love is easy if you find the right partner. The myth that hard work alone guarantees wealth. These beliefs can inspire people, yes, but they can also mislead people, disappoint people, and even break people. So how do we avoid survivorship bias? The first step is awareness. Always ask, who am I not seeing? When you read a success story, ask how many people tried the same thing and didn't succeed. When someone says, this person became rich doing this business, ask how many others failed in the same business. When you see a perfect couple online, remember that social media shows only highlights, never the struggles. When you follow advice from billionaires, ask yourself if that advice would work for someone born in a different environment. The second step is to study failures, not just successes. Failures reveal the real challenges, the hidden risks, the obstacles that survivors don't talk about. The third step is to remember that success is not a formula. It's a combination of effort, environment, opportunity, timing, and yes, luck. The fourth step is to stop comparing your journey to someone else's filtered story. Everyone grows at a different pace. Everyone has different struggles. Everyone lives a different life. Survivorship bias is powerful because it hides the truth behind silence. But once you learn to see the unseen, once you notice the invisible stories of people who didn't survive the path, you begin to understand life more realistically, more compassionately, and more wisely. And perhaps the most important lesson is this: don't measure yourself only by the visible winners. Measure yourself by your own progress, your own journey, and your own path. Because success is not just about reaching the finish line, it's about understanding the whole race.